This podcast is powered by As Always Entertainment. If you enjoy this content, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/asalways. Other than to support this show for just $1 a month or more, you get access to over 50 exclusive episodes of the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast that release every week the Kill Connor Club podcast isn't on. You also get a week's early access to the Spoilercast show, The Cinema Room, and plenty of cool perks such as being part of polls for future videos on our channels, as well as other early access material. With that said, please enjoy the podcast. Just a quick note, everybody, I accidentally had Tyler's audio from Skype on the same track as my mic, so we can't use his microphone audio. It'll have to come from the direct recording that I took from Skype, so it'll be a little bit worse quality on his end, but, I mean, that's how we did it for, like, 4.5 years, so just, you know, it'll be fine. Deal with it. Hope you enjoy. Thanks, lads.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Room podcast, the Spoilercast podcast where we talk about films, TV show seasons, and video games and spoil the shit out of them. I am one of your hosts and film connoisseurs, Tyler, joined as always by James.
As always. How's it going?
Good, my friend. Good. What's been going on with you? What films have you been watching?
What films am I
TV shows? Or you've been watching The Hobbit. You watched the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh god, have we not done a cinema room since?
No, but did we talk about that? No, we haven't.
I don't know.
I should address this. This is late to Patreon, but it'll be at normal time for public. Because I was sick last weekend. I spent 3 days at home on the couch, and it's very rare for me to ever take days off work. Even when I am sick, I really never take days off work. I just fucking power through it. And I worked on Sunday and was dying the whole day, was absolutely dying, and had done a week of like 4 12-hour days in a row, and then Sunday was like a normal shift, but I was just wrecked and getting sick. And then I got home Sunday night, was sitting on the couch realizing I had a podcast in like 2 hours thinking, I can't get up or function or think or talk or do anything.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I just had I've never had to cancel a podcast. I've had to postpone on a guest. But I messaged you and I said, dude, I physically cannot do a podcast. And yeah, so I apologize. At first I just said, we'll skip Cinema Room. We'll do another day. We'll just do Kill Connor Club because I definitely can't do 5 hours of podcast. Let's just do one. And then I was like, no, I'm going to die. I can't do anything. Yeah. It was good because I literally was like, Sunday night was the worst I was, and then Monday morning was awful. But yeah, I'm feeling great right now. Feeling great.
That's good. That's a lot better. Yeah.
So and it would have sucked doing a podcast, a Kill Connor Club with Eddie and Shep, who are high energy fun guys, and been like sick and down and not fun. If we're gonna do it, I want to be me doing it.
Exactly. There's no need to force out podcasts just because we said we do it on a day. We want them to all be quality podcasts. So if they've got to be delayed or whatever, they've got to be delayed. And I think everybody gets that and appreciates it, so we're all good.
That's good. Today we're talking about Mindhunter Season 2.
We are doing
so
that.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Go start the first season of Mindhunter. Do whatever you got to do. Just watch fucking Mindhunter. It's, to me, after this season, the absolute best show Netflix has ever produced. So get the hell on it. But yeah, I mean, something we've kind of started. It's not really a thing, but here and there, we talk about what other films we're excited about or shows we're watching, things like that. So, James, what are you watching? You watched the Hobbit trilogy recently.
I did watch the Hobbit trilogy.
Obviously, we're not doing a Hobbit spoiler cast, but just quick summary. Do you like it? Like, compare it to Lord of the Rings? What are your sort of thoughts?
Yeah, look, I for a long time, everyone was telling me the Hobbit movies are not good. A lot of people saying, they're just sort of fine, and then a lot of people telling me they're just shit.
They're not the prequels. They're not the Star Wars prequels. They're way better than that. You know what I mean? Like, they're still good movies.
Yeah, and I really, really like them. I had a great time. If I were to look at it a bit deeper, maybe there'd be some other flaws, but the main flaw that I noticed across all of them is just the portrayal of Middle-earth is nowhere near as
CGI
good as the Lord of the Rings, purely because there's so much noticeable CGI. And that really takes away from it. It doesn't feel like it's a real place that I can go to. It feels like, like I'm watching a Hollywood action movie type thing. Whereas when you watch the Lord of the Rings, it's just like this really convincing, immersive fantasy world where you've got like these characters on these quests, and it's just such a great fucking, like, the way that they portray the world. It's so fucking good. But it was still good though. It was still like up there with some of the best portrayals of worlds. It's just Lord of the Rings, the movies are so much better than everything else that it's, The Hobbit doesn't really live up to that. But from a story standpoint, I liked it. Characters, I liked the characters. There was some, hit or miss plot points or characters, but on the whole, I had a good time with it. I liked the story, and I like the sort of, I don't know, the little connections to Lord of the Rings as well at the beginning and at the end and stuff. So it was good. I enjoyed them. I thought they were good.
Well, I'm sure down the track we'll do cinema rooms on the Lord of the Rings and each Hobbit movie. So we'll get fun. More into that down the road. But I'm glad you've seen it and enjoyed it, because I love the Hobbit movies. They're not close to Lord of the Rings, but they're still great movies. I enjoy all three of them. Yeah, so I'm glad you like it. They've never been the Star Wars prequels like people try to say they are. They're not at all. They're way better than that. But yeah, that's cool. I'm glad. I've been watching Shameless the last 3 days or 4 days that I've been sick. Have you heard of Shameless before?
I believe so.
Yeah, there's like 10 seasons of it. There's like 8 on Netflix, and I think it's still going now, like on season 9 or 10. Like this family of 6, like this pretty much like ghetto family of 6 in the south side of Chicago. And the 21-year-old older sister's like,
it's one of those
the American
shows,
one's like the long-running, most popular version. But I think it's originally a UK show. But classic UK, you make 6 episodes and you never touch it again. It's like, come on, fuck's sake.
That's what we do. We make gold and then we don't ruin it.
Yeah, it's not.
And then America's like, we need to make 600 episodes of this thing and run it into the ground. They do with everything. Fucking Americans.
Yeah. All right, whatever, mate. It's a great show. I absolutely have loved it. So I'm at the end of season 2 now, so thoroughly enjoying it. But yeah, that's what I'm watching at the moment.
Great stuff.
I need to see It Chapter 2. I need to see that. I know we're not going to do a cinema room on that because you don't like scary shit, but
I just don't care for it at all.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I need to see it at some point. But I love it, so that's a thing. Okay. Anyway, we're here to talk about an amazing television program, a Netflix original, Mindhunter, season 2. 2 years since season 1. Dying to watch it. It's here. We've both seen it. James,
we need to do the list.
Before we get into that, we have to do the list. Just to keep you all on the edge of your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is brought to you by the great people over at patreon.com/as always. If you love what you're listening to here and you want to hear more, you get this podcast a week early, plus exclusive access to the Cinema Room podcast. There's 70 episodes as of this Sunday of that show. Go check it out. Thanks to our producers over there for making this happen. This show wouldn't exist without them. The reason we did this third podcast is because of the support we've got over there. We've had a huge month of August. Let's keep it growing in September. We appreciate everyone's support. So thank our producers, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, Elstico, 91, Seth, and that's it. The 4 of them.
That is it.
I wasn't sure. Like, Josh Devilier's not there. I think he's moved out.
No, he's gone.
He's moved out.
Kassassin's also gone. When I say gone, I don't mean gone. I think they're still about, but like they're not at that high tier anymore.
If Assassin's down, he's on the list.
He's on 5.
He's on 5. That's cool. It's like, hey, I don't care what tier you're on. Just be here.
Yeah,
you can be $1. I'm cool with you if you're at $1.
Yeah.
You mean as much to me as any tier. Just don't leave us permanently. That's what makes me sad. That's the only way I'll be upset.
Wait, hold up a minute. I'm so confused. Josh Develier is here.
What?
He's just at the bottom with no reward.
Is he one of the producers?
Yeah. Well, he should be, but he's chosen no reward.
He's now our highest pledge.
Yeah. What the fuck? Why is he no? Does he want no reward? We won't
forget Josh Develier because he's been on the thing for ages. I don't know. Maybe it's just a screw up with Patreon.
All right.
We won't forget Josh Develier. We can ask
him. Yeah, he's great.
Anyway, Josh Develier as well as one of the producers. So shout out to Josh Develier. And again, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/as always. So let's read the list and get into this podcast. Now to thank our $5 tier members, all of them. Once again, King Richard III, Smexy Dork, Elstico 91, Seth, Bullsec 47, Josh Develier, before I forget, Damian, Billy the Team, Tynamite, Captain Robertson. Shout out to Billy. It was his birthday last week, so happy birthday. Tman Travis, SuperTuberEddie, a good friend there, baby boy, KEMOSABE Gamer, a.k.a my best friend Toby, Kacper, Casey Wood, Pink Flame 313, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Jesper Olsen, Lumistrad, DIDDLOTIC, Mario 5380, enjoys rim jobs.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I love that guy too. And he has a picture of Logan Paul or something. Is this fucking
Who the
icon?
fuck is that guy?
I don't know. I love him. Fat Fuck Cuck, Brendon Overlord, RAVJAI, Ikraik, Oscar, Benedict Parker returns, Jim Lee, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the alleys, Zahir the FAT Gamer, Max H. Jean, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, George, Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, Frankie Gaffney, the ACMJS, Trovanovsky.
Yep. That looks about right.
Now it's Trovanovsky. Welcome, No Sweet Ventures Lad. This is our first reading of the September list. McZed Kassassin. McZed's taken away the number. He's not McZed 68. He's just McZed. I don't like that.
68. McZed 68. Was that his name? No, it wasn't. Was it?
It was McZed 68. What else was it? It was a number after McZed.
That doesn't sound right to me. McZed 68. McZed 68.
I don't fucking know. Something. Anyway, Kassassin, Kyle, Estors, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Josh Moore, Ginko Swag, Mass the Bass, Tyler Watch, Daredevil, Ashton, Amir, the Synth Potato. Welcome, Amir. Actually, shout out Amir after all these years. Finally joined the Sweet Ventures Lads here. Welcome, Amir. Yazen, Joe, the Sexy Boi Smith, Joe, A.K.A FoundedScarab, H+12, I got Lombard. No, H+12, I got Big Shoes.
Oh.
Iron Man's for the dads. Deraday, Alfie Rodbert, Brian Ford, Milkboy, Fishy, and Andrew Martinez.
Amazing.
New list. That's the longest reading I've ever done. I usually pride myself in fast readings, but a few shout outs there. New month, new list. Love it.
Yeah.
And as well, I'm going to say this again on Clubhouse, but just if you're supposed to be a guest on Clubhouse episodes, we message you on Patreon, and people have not been checking their messages. So if you want to get your rewards, you need to check your messages so we can give you the rewards for your tiers, just so you know. Shout out to you guys. Anyway, Mindhunter Season 2, James, we've watched it. We've sat here talking for 11 minutes without talking about Mindhunter.
Good.
The show about serial killer investigators, tremendous show. What did you think of Season 2 of Mindhunter?
I absolutely loved it. I forgot a lot about Season 1 because there was a big gap between the two, and I've only ever seen it once. I find it difficult to rewatch TV shows because there's a lot of them. But I loved Season 2. I from what I can remember of Season 1, I think Season 2 was better. I really liked the structure of it, the way that there were so many storylines going on at once that were running across for the full length of the season, and that they were all just as captivating as each other, which I think was a highlight of it. So it was, it wasn't drawing things out, or it wasn't doing storylines too quickly. It was always there was a bunch of different storylines it would flick between, and those ran for the length of the season, so it was always captivating, and I really liked that. Character development was great, the furthering of the overall story and all those things. It was really fucking good. It was really great.
Yeah, dude, I 100% agree with you. I had like you said, every storyline was fucking riveting, and they continued. The most important thing, I was sitting here I watched Season 1 the week of Season 2 coming out because I was just so excited for Season 2 and wanted to rewatch Season 1 to make sure I knew everything going on, because I'm just one of those people, lots of people are. Serial killers are just so inherently riveting. And I love serial killer documentaries, movies, shows, and everything like that. Mindhunter, the best of the best. Obviously based on the real book Mindhunter from the FBI investigator that's based on Holden Ford's character. I forget his name, Doug something. But amazing show. And Season 2 to me was better than Season 1 in a lot of ways, just because we got to go deeper into the characters, some of the questions we had from Season 1, as well as really getting to see them use their investigation skills, get to see them use their research and put it to use practically in a real case that they were really involved in, which is just so cool to see. And the fact that at the end I was left uncomfortable and unsatisfied, but in a good way, because it is real life and it's not some happy ending. It was just you were left there conflicted. You're yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
And you don't have all the answers. You're never 100% sure, but you kind of are sure, and you're torn. And I loved that about the show. It's so raw, so real.
Yeah.
But most of all, the thing I was most excited about, and that I've known about because between Season 1 and 2 is 2 years. I spent so much time researching. Every episode of Season 1 is a cold open in Park City, Kansas, and there's this guy, and he clearly is developing into a serial killer. All these traits, you're slowly seeing little bits, cold opens, and I'd done all this research and knew who the serial killer was, BTK.
Yeah.
Bind, Torture, Kill. I knew who he was. I'd watched documentaries about BTK. I knew all his crimes. Like, I was ready. But for me, I'm like, was it just kind of like a tease of that killer and then every season will be a different thing? Will they do something else? I was hoping, dying, to know that there was an overarching narrative that they're continuing of this whole show with, and the main serial killer being BTK. And then when season 2 started, I was in there, please, please, please. And the shot opens and it just goes, boom, Park City, Kansas. I was literally like, yes, fuck, yes, fuck yeah. I was just like getting so excited when I really shouldn't be excited about serial killers. But like I was literally so excited that we're like, yes, we're going to keep going with this overarching narrative that isn't going to be wrapped in this season either. Like, we got way deeper into it than I expected, where they're like mentioning BTK. BTK's killing. He hasn't done all his killings yet by this point. He's still got a few more to go in the timeline they're in. Plus, he doesn't get caught till, spoilers, 2005. But there's a lot for his story. And I know the creator said he has 5 seasons for the show. Like, in his head, it goes for 5 seasons. So he's already got it planned and wants to keep running with it. And I just hope that Netflix keep running with it. And
I hope so.
I love this overarching narrative. Plus, as well, the contained season 2 narratives as well and where our characters are going. What was, I guess, we won't go from start to finish with episode to episode because there's all these different storylines. Let's go character-wise storylines. Let's start with, I guess, probably in some ways the least interesting, but at the same time had some of the best scenes to it, which was, well, I mean, now thinking about it, it's not really the worst storyline, is it? It's hard to say because they had all the interviews in the storyline. But Wendy, the professor that's working with the FBI, Wendy, her sort of storyline and dating the bartender, like, and dealing with being a lesbian and not being able to kind of share worlds with her and those struggles, but also being taken seriously in a profession of being able to do these interviews with these killers while Holden and Tench are off doing the investigations, using their research practically. What did you think of sort of her character development this season? And what they had, like, what's his name? Smith, Greg, kind of like the fourth wheel, like the fourth dude that's just sort of there.
He's my favorite character.
What do you think of their sort of storyline and with some of the interviews they did? And man, they interviewed some hectic serial killers this season, and they nailed their tendencies, prosthetics, and everything like that. Like, it's fucking crazy. But anyway, sorry, I'm blabbering. Go on. What do you think of?
There was some cool stuff. Her storyline was it's like none of the storylines were uninteresting, but I think that her storyline was maybe the least interesting. But that's only because everything else was so, intense. Whereas we got a lot of insight into her life, sort of personal life, which was nice. Because we got a lot of that with Ford in the first season and bloody other bloke. I forgot his name. I'm forgetting all their names. This was so long ago that I watched this fucking show. We got a lot of insight into their lives in season 1. So getting an insight into her life was nice. Getting to know her.
We got a bit in the first season of, like, we knew she was a lesbian. She was dating like a
Wait, did we know that?
Of hers. Yeah.
Oh shit, I don't remember anything.
In the first season, remember she's
What the fuck? What happened?
I rewatched it. She was a professor, right, in Boston.
Yeah.
And she was dating one of, like, the elite professors.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, she was fucking.
Was there something? Was there something with? And
she was telling her, "Don't join the FBI." Yeah.
What was that?
When she moved to Virginia, she was feeding a cat down at the lawn in a laundry.
Yeah, what was that about?
And then one day the cat just stopped coming. It was all like metaphorical stuff to do with, like, their research. Yeah, it was all symbolism and yeah. I mean, that's season 2, bro.
What happened to Ford's girlfriend? Did they break up?
They broke up.
Oh, I don't remember that either. I was just like, where the fuck is she? I've completely forgot they broke up.
They just broke up. Yeah.
Why did they break up?
They were just, like, sort of growing apart, and he was being weird, like, all focused on work. He is a weird guy. I love him. Yeah. He's the best. I mean, Bill Tench is actually my favorite character. He's fucking tremendous.
I like them both very equally.
Yeah, they're great. They're a great team. Like, such a great duo together.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, like, remember he went to, like, some dark room because she had some, like, she was doing some college research thing, and then he caught her making out with some dude in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then she like, was trying to bring up the breakup conversation. And he, and then he just kind of left. It was really, it was, I don't know how to explain it, bro. Season 1, man. What are we doing?
I don't know. Let's talk about season 2.
Yeah,
so the stuff.
They broke up. She's not important. She's not even in this season.
So I need to get the characters' names up. Hold up. Mindhunter characters. Let me have a look here. Okay, well, these are all out of order, aren't they?
Are they?
Well, we'll have to just search Mindhunter characters and then it. Yeah, I mean, I would have expected the main sort of characters would come up first, but they have not come up first.
Well, you've got.
Oh, anyway.
Holden Ford, who's the main guy.
Yes.
Bill Tench, the older partner. Wendy is the female, professor researcher.
Yes.
And then Greg's the fucking fourth dude.
Okay.
Then you've got I forget the name of the new main FBI dude. I forget who that is.
Well, I'll obviously remember.
The head of the FBI. Yeah, I forget. Anyway.
The bald guy.
Yeah, the bald guy. But he was good. He was a great new character. Great new addition.
What else has he been in, that actor? I recognize him.
I don't know, man. I do not know. He's from something. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think
I recognize him from somewhere.
What is it? I'll remember. Don't worry about it. I'll remember at some point. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so the storyline with Wendy was interesting. I think the seeing her and Greg go and interview different people was interesting as well, to get a different angle of how other people interview as well. Because when you get Ford and Bill doing it.
Well, you know how they interviewed one of the serial killers they interviewed is interesting because I've gone and like done my research on the ones I didn't know very well. Remember the dude she talked about being gay and like she used that side of it, and he was like, because he killed the actual killer sort of thing. Like he used to bring kids and shit to this dude, and then he would kill them and rape him and stuff. And then he ended up killing him. That guy that was doing the killing I think has the highest kill count of any serial killer in the United States.
Jesus Christ.
I'm pretty sure he's number 1. Yeah. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
There was a lot of great interviews. I mean, we'll get to the Charles Manson one, which was just incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were some great ones in there for sure. So yeah, Wendy's I was fine with it. Like I like seeing a bit more of her, and we didn't get massive payoff or anything yet, but like it's just leading us down like further into these characters that we're gonna hopefully be with for at least 3 more seasons before the show sort of wraps up. But we'll see. The most interesting storyline to me, and the one that just kept me so engaged and creeped me out the most, I should say more than anything, was Bill Tench's storyline with his wife and son. Yeah. That shit was creepy. And just like it made my skin crawl. I felt sick watching it, like, because Bill's probably the most likable character of the show. Yeah. He's a family man. He has good values. He doesn't like interviewing these serial killers, where Holden Ford loves interviewing these serial killers. Bill's good at it and a great partner to Holden, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't enjoy it. And I love like his relationship with his wife, and it starts off because in that first season you just know that his son doesn't talk, and they adopted him when he was 3, and they don't know where he came from and all this sort of stuff. There's a lot of mystery to it. But then at the start of the second season, they're at church and the son's singing and he's playing with other kids and it's all looking up. And I was like, oh, this is good. Things are getting better for him and his family. And then it's just an absolute trick. Oh my God. Because the wife, who's a real estate agent, a 2-year-old child's murdered in her home that she's selling. And it turns out that the local kids, including her son, were involved in it, and the son's idea was to put the kid on a cross to try to resurrect it or something. And then you got to deal with the fallout of this kid not getting charged. Like, he's like what was he, 8 years old?
Yeah, something like
An
that.
8-year-old kid, you know, not getting charged with the murder of a 2-year-old, because these older kids are the ones that did it or something strange. Like, it was just like so creepy, and you'd been suspicious of this kid, and he's quiet and he doesn't talk and he's weird. Like, how did you see that storyline going? Like, where did you think it was going when it started, and what do you think of like the son and what the future for that is? Because at the end she leaves Bill because he's you know, working and has to go, and you know, he struggles with that balance, work-life balance.
Yeah, that was probably one of the more interesting storylines that was going on, because it was one of those ones that at first it was, you know, you had that mysterious nature to it, like what the fuck is going on. But then, you know, you find out that it's fucking Bill's son, and that was fucked up. Like, and I mean, the kid is super fucking weird, and you get an insight into how, like, you get to see more weird sides to him as the show, like, as the season goes on. Like, he's just a strange kid. And, you know, hopefully that goes somewhere further, you know, moving on in future seasons. I assume they won't just drop it, you know, they'll do something.
No, definitely not. It's not one of those shows that does something for no reason.
Yeah, and it was just so interesting. I mean, because it plays into like the other storylines as well, because you can see it affects the way that Bill thinks about certain people as well.
Well, it totally affects the Charles Manson interview. Like, how good was that?
Yeah. Oh man, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, like is incredible the way they did that. And the wife slowly like going into this like depressing state when she was such one of those just happy-go-lucky people, but then like you said, like the kid can't you know, have friends after that. Everyone thinks he's a fucking killer, and then and the kid already had problems, and now he's like digressing again, and the wife doesn't really get it. She just thinks, no, he's fine, he's a good kid, like it's not going to stay with him. Kids forget things. Like, oh, love. Like, no, like this kid's fucked from this for life. Like, you've really got to deal with it. You can't ignore it. Or else he will, like, because lots of serial killers do this sort of shit, like, beforehand. Like, as kids. Like, I mean, Ed Kemper killed his fucking grandparents when he was 13 and went to juvie and then got out at 21, and then he became the fucking co-ed killer.
That's mental.
You know? Like, there's childhood tendencies and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they've been studying as well, and that's why it affects Bill, because like he knows as well. He's like, because he says, who's he talking to when he says that, you know, he thinks that his son needs help, and that his wife doesn't understand that. Because I mean, he's got insight into this, the way that, you know, the things that kids do and the things they're exposed to when they're younger really affects these serial killers when they get older. And so he's got that confliction of like, you know, he can't just ignore this because his son's going to be fucked, and he's really worried about that. But then also, like, you can see he tries to make excuses for certain killers in certain aspects because of what's happened with his son, which I thought was interesting. That he gets into there's like a couple of arguments they have over certain killers at points, and you can see it's like affecting the way that Bill thinks about things. And I thought that was interesting. The way that all the storylines affect each other was very interesting.
Oh yeah, it's riveting. What I'm trying to think of like examples. What was something like one of the main ones that affected like how we saw killers from his son stuff? Because I mean the Manson stuff affected him negatively because Manson was kind of almost getting in his head.
Yeah. There was, and
I don't think it's the last we've seen of Manson. I don't think it's the last we've seen of Manson. I don't know, like because like they didn't get anywhere with it. Not that I didn't think they were supposed to. I think it was more supposed to be a bit of a one-off. Maybe like experience, like just like a wow factor to it.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the best scenes of like the entire show.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very good.
Especially the fact that I think we talked about this in the last cinema room, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but Damon Herriman played Charles Manson in both those, in both Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and in Mindhunter, which I think is just a really cool little thing.
Yeah, that is cool.
We got to see a lot more of him in this than in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but Bill to me is probably the standout to me this season. Like Holden was my favorite in the first season, but Bill really I just loved his character. I loved the storylines. that he was involved in, and how his home storyline was affecting the main storyline of their investigations and things like that with the Atlanta child killings and everything like that. No, I thought it was great. I thought it was really good, and
I agree.
I think I sympathize with him the most. That's all, because Holden's hard to sympathize with.
Yeah, Holden's weird
sometimes.
Holden's a weird guy
because he is that eccentric personality. That it is a bit hard to root for him sometimes. But you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. He's still like such a smart character, and you know he's right, even though he's like such an obnoxious like cunt about it all.
Yeah.
Like shut up, dude. We get it. But yeah, he was great. Bill. Now Holden, our main character, I guess, the feature character, who the show's based around, the book written by the character that's based off him. He ends season 1 visiting Ed Kemper in the hospital, has this like panic attack moment, and then he starts getting these panic attacks, and that kind of feeds into the storyline for his character. Before we get into like the main storyline of the show, how'd you see Holden's storyline with just like his development? Because he didn't have as much. Like the first season was a lot about his personal life. There wasn't really much personal life in this one. It was really just about his panic attacks and him being out in the fields and being able to deal with problems and solve problems and trust his gut.
I mean, when it started, I assumed that it would take a bigger place in the story, like him having panic attacks. And then it happened like twice, and like he was fine other than that, which was strange. I mean, I'm sure they've introduced it for a reason, but I don't know whether that reason was because it's relevant to this season. Because it didn't. You could have taken it out, and I don't think it would have really affected anything. So I'm not entirely sure what it was for. But maybe it's for something down the line. Maybe you need to plant that seed early on. But yeah, it was like it happened a couple of times, and then he was just completely fine. Like I don't think it ever got the better of him in an interview, except for that very first one where he was silent for like the beginning of it, and then he sort of got into it and he was fine. But I'm not sure. Like, what did you think about that? Because
I was with you too. I thought you assume when those, like, especially when it's something that happens in the first episode or two and it's pretty major to a character, you assume it's going to somehow play a factor with like the ending storyline, but it never did. So yeah, I mean, perhaps it plays a role in the future, but it really was just, I don't know. It was just sort of there. It was just sort of there, wasn't it? I'm not too sure about it.
He just has, sometimes he has panic attacks now, I guess.
Well, I guess it's showing the toll of what they're doing and the stress of it all, and like you're not going to come out of doing what they're doing being just exactly who you were going in. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna leave you with scars and stuff like that. So
sure.
I guess that's a way to look at it if you want to be fucking lame about it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I guess.
But there it is.
Sure.
But the main storyline, like they kind of get deeper into BTK gets introduced to Bill Tench, and he kind of is there. So BTK, our cold open guy, our overarching narrative serial killer, he's been killing, and he's not in every cold open, but he's in a few of them. I like the cold opens here way more than the first season, just from like how you've got a lot more of the sadistic nature and what he was into, like the sexual nature and what kind of like how he saw it. And because I mean the first one was, I think, him like strangle wanking. Autoerotic asphyxiation, I think, is the word for it. But stranking is the word I like.
Oh, great, yeah.
With like this female mask on, and that's like one of like BTK's big thing is that fucking mask. So it's just such a creepy like.
Yeah, it's fucking.
I think doing all the research on BTK before it, like you just kind of like go, oh shit, like oh I know all this shit, but then you're also like, oh, it's so creepy, like at the same time.
A weird man. Yeah, it was some crazy weird stuff.
So you get that introduction, and they start to like profile him a little bit, but meanwhile they're mostly focusing on the Atlanta child murders and what they've got to deal with, and there's a lot of politics involved in that, and they have the first black mayor in Atlanta, and they're dealing with they're trying to build up Atlanta as a nice place. Meanwhile, you've got this child murder out there, and 27 children have been killed and murdered by the end of it all said and done. And they're not saying there's some connected killer. They just like, no, Atlanta always has lots of people killed. We're not making a news story about it. But then eventually it does. And Ford and Tench head down and lead the investigation. And obviously we know enough now about their profile research. They really make you feel involved, I think, from knowing what you know about their research. You know what to look for as well. I love that about this show. And I love that, like, they teach you how to... It's like, it really gets you invested in their investigation. You want them to go out and investigate crimes because you're like, I want to help. Like, I can help you guys. Like, let me, because I know all their fucking research now. You know all the tendencies they're looking for in profiling a serial killer. So when they go out there looking for a suspect and you're like, is it a serial killer? Is it the KKK? Like, who is it doing this? And then when you get this first suspect, you're like, you know who it is, sort of thing. But then at the same time, you're still sort of second guessing it. Like, wait, but was it? But was it? What do you think of the storyline? And let's not cover it all yet. Let's start with, how do you see the sort of first half, the build up towards where they were now permanently looking for it? There's all the political stuff going on. They're trying to lure him out. They're just having no luck. They can't do it. What do you think of this investigation? And was it sort of a worthy one to focus a season on?
Yeah, I think so. I liked it a lot. It was interesting to see the way that they apply, because I mean, we saw bits and pieces of them sort of applying it to real cases in season 1, but they were sort of short-lived. It was like mini things here and there. Whereas in this season, it's, the whole season is one big case with a bunch of other stories going on, and they're actually getting to apply it out in the field, which was really good. Especially seeing Holden, because he's so confident in their methods, and he's really trying to, he's so aggressively forcing it on everybody, because he really believes in it. And I love him. He's great. And, seeing all the other people that are like, oh, no, it's the KKK. And he's like, it's not the fucking KKK. And you as the viewer, you're like, I know it's not the KKK. Well, one, because this is a show about serial killers. If it was, that'd be really a dumb storyline. But also, we know it's not. But that's how I
think about it as well. Like, what if it is? Because also it's based on real cases, real stories.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did they get it right every time? Did they get it right every time? Or were they wrong sometimes?
I mean, I did think about that.
What does that mean? And what does that mean when they're wrong?
Because I thought as well, like, Holden is so confident in it, it would almost be, a storyline to have him be wrong. But also, then that'd sort of discredit what they're doing, and then how do you move on from that? I don't know. But it was really interesting to see the way they applied everything. And like you say, you as the viewer, they really get you involved as well. Like, thinking about, like, oh, who could it be before they've even got their suspect. Are there any potential suspects, that we know as characters potentially, like what's going on in this town and everything. And that was also interesting. I think they did it so well, and then all of the other storylines then directly affecting it as well, with like Bill's home life and all of that stuff. So it was done really well, and the build up was really, really interesting.
Yeah, right. It's one of those shows though that unsatisfyingness is kind of why it's compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Like that ending with where I'm just like, I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
And the build up to that was like you were saying, what it's about, and like when you see the suspect, you're like, it's him and all this stuff. But they really got you into the personalities of the case as well. Like, you met the mothers and that mother group, and then you saw all these different sides of the case. They didn't just show you here's the police investigation, here's the FBI investigation. They showed you both. They showed you the local government perspective. They showed you some of the perspective of the main suspect. They showed you the mother's perspective, the community perspective, and you got a good grip of what was going on in the whole landscape. They gave you a good view to kind of make up your mind yourself of what does that mean for an audience member as you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
I really love the way they did that, specifically. And when we finally got to that moment where they're just desperate, and they're just like having the officers sit out at night watching the river and watching roads and just staking out. Like, that's all they've got now. They have no suspects. They have no leads. And Holden has this profile. He's like, no, it's a mid-20s to 30 black male who lives at home and probably has a dog. Like he has the profile. He's done his research. He knows. And then they get this. They hear a body drop in a river. This guy has no lights on. Drives off, sees the cops, turns around, and then gets caught again. Knows exactly what they've stopped him for, and fits in every single conceivable way the exact profile that Holden had already created about the suspect of the serial killer. And you're sitting there like, well, but of course it is this guy.
Yeah.
But I love the way they build to it as well, like, because they can't hold him, they don't have enough evidence, and you're sitting there like, fuck's sake, like, we know it's him, he fits the profile, it's fucking him. What more evidence do you want? Like, when it's like, wait, what? Like, it's not, they actually don't have any evidence. Like, it's just like a profile that he fits the exact profile. He's definitely a suspect, but they can't, like, hold him or anything. It's just, there are those frustrating things where you're like, oh, right, like, it's not how it works, it's real life, Yeah. They can't just, like, arrest everybody.
Yeah, it was that whole section. It was interesting when because it was almost like I was going back and forth with it. Like at first I was like, oh, it's definitely him, and then I was like, oh, but maybe it's not him. But then I was like, no, but it is him. Like it was so confusing. I was like, is it just a coincidence that it's exactly like the way that the profile that Holden's built up, or is this actually the guy? Like it was just different points. I wasn't sure if this was going to be the guy, and I mean they never really got a conclusive end on that anyway, although I'm pretty sure by the end it's the guy, but there was never that conclusion of, oh, here's definitive proof that it's him, because you don't really know.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it was Wayne Williams, who was the man arrested for the Atlanta child murders. But he was only charged with 2. That's a big thing as well. Like there was 29 murders, and he was only charged and convicted of 2 of them.
And they were kids, right?
Well, they were like 15.
Are you sure? I thought they were adults.
15, 16, I thought. That they convicted him with.
It says American murder serving life imprisonment for the 1981 killing of 2 adult men in Atlanta, Georgia.
And believed police are responsible for at least 23 of the 30 Atlanta murders of 1979 to 1981, or the Atlanta child murders. He was never tried for the child murders and continues to maintain his innocence. Yeah. But then again, the killings also stopped after he went to prison. So you tell me, you know what I mean? Like you tell me who did what. Plus, like in every way, fitted the profile. The car and everything was cleaned out when they arrived the next day. He had lied about everything, where he was going. He's out at 3 a.m. to meet a lead and all this sort of shit. You know what I mean? They heard a body drop from the river. His lights are off. He ran from police. He fits the profile. Like, as much as like this guy professed his innocence and had all these like lies and excuses, like all he ever did was lie. His lies twisted around. It made no sense. He fitted the profile. When you really look at it, like there's no way it wasn't him, at least in the way it was portrayed, right?
Yeah.
And he's got life imprisonment. And the other 27, I think, child murders are still technically open cases, though they're not really talked about. Yeah, because Wayne Williams is in prison for them. So, it's just
Why did he end up killing adults if all of his murders were children? What were those adult murders for? Like, how did that happen?
Okay, well, let's have a look.
I assume we don't know.
I assume it was more of circumstantial killings.
Like he just happened to kill those people, or was it like he was trying to get a kid?
In the heat of the moment, or things like that, you know. But like the other thing about these murders, like the thing about serial killers, is always of a sexual nature, right? Like there's always a sexual element to it. That's the difference here, and there's lots of different reasons. Like some of them, like BTK, he just kills and then he sits and watches the dead bodies, thinking about what he just did, and he jerks off.
That's fucking crazy. What the fuck?
Some have sex with corpses or body parts, like Ed Kemper. Jesus like Christ. There's a sexual nature to it all, but everyone varies. Now the thing with Wayne was it was lots of them were by strangulation. And of these kids are the same age, but there was never like DNA of semen from memory found. So I'm not entirely sure that the sexual nature of what he was doing was fully understood. Like, did he just jerk off afterwards at the thought of it? That's totally possible. Did he do it at the scene like BTK and watch? But like, none of the kids were ever raped.
Yeah.
Explicitly, right?
Yeah.
There was never any signs of that. From memory, I might be totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's, there was never signs of that. So,
it's interesting. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. It's tough. It's tough to know why he killed those guys. Well, let's have a look. What was he convicted of? So, so after all the shit that went down, that first night where he became a suspect, 2 days later, May 24th, the new body of 27-year-old Nathaniel Carter, who had been missing for 3 days, was discovered in the river. The medical examiner ruled he had died for probable asphyxia, so strangulation, I guess, but never specifically said that he had been strangled. Police theorized that Williams had killed Kacper, and that his body was the source of the sound that he had heard as his car crossed the bridge. Williams subsequently failed 3 polygraph tests, and hairs and fibers retrieved from the body of the victim, Jimmy Ray Payne, were found to be consistent with those from his home, car, and dog. Like, what the fuck are we even talking about?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and he had all those bruises and scratches on him and shit like that. And even the stories from the music studio where he'd take the kids in.
Oh, that was weird.
And he'd just talk to them for hours. Williams subsequently, co-workers told police they had seen Williams with scratches on his face and arms around the time of the murders, which investigators surmised could have been inflicted by victims during a struggle. Williams held a press conference outside his home to proclaim his innocence, volunteering that he had failed the polygraph tests, a fact that would have been inadmissible in court. He was arrested on June 21st, 1981, for the murders of Carter and Payne. I'm trying to remember how old Payne was, but yeah, they were adults. Williams' trial began, because that's all they could get evidence on, really, with the fibers and stuff. Williams' trial began January 6, 1982. During the 2-month trial, prosecutors matched 19 different sources of fibers from Williams' home and car, his bedspread, bathroom, gloves, clothes, carpet, dog, and an unusual trilobal carpet fiber to a number of victims. Other evidence included eyewitness testimony placing Williams with several victims while they were alive and inconsistencies in his accounts of his whereabouts. So, like, he would always say he'd never met these kids or anything like that, but, like, they had. Williams took the stand in his own defense, but alienated the jury by becoming angry and combative. After 12 hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty on February 27th of the murders of Kacper and Payne. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. In the late 1990s, Williams filed habeas corpus.
I don't know what that word is. I'm looking at it as well.
A habeas corpus petition and requested a retrial. It's like where it then skips and goes to the next higher court above, like, your county court or local court. Like, it goes to, like, a Supreme Court, I believe. In the United States, like habeas corpus, like, there's a lot about this in fucking Making a Murderer season 2, because that's what, like, Brendan Dassey did. Like, he almost got out on habeas corpus, where like another panel of judges at a state or federal level or whatever have a look, and there's so many layers of retrial and things you can go through, and shit like that. I don't know, man. Like, this dude fucking killed someone. Maybe he didn't kill all 29, but he fucking killed the 2 people he's convicted of. I can guarantee you that. And, you know, you'd suspect of his profile and how much he was around these kids and the definite links. Like, police believe just from evidence they found, I think, afterwards, he can't be, not enough to convict him, but just from enough evidence they found that at least 23 of the 30 child killings they believe was his. And then it stopped after he was in prison. So, you know, you fucking tell me.
Who was the other 7?
Well, people die. Like, they talked about it in the episode as well. Like, they're like, well, you know, there's a high number of homicides in Atlanta as it is. So
Yeah,
you'd
that's a good
assume
point, yeah.
either he
You're right.
was involved that they couldn't link him to them, or they were just the other murders that happened to happen during the time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, man. But I think the mystery to me is what is sexual nature of this serial killings were. You know, like there's nothing that was necessarily obvious, which is strange. But here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got deep into that, and that's not even the show.
Yeah,
But I mean, how do you think the show went with dealing with all that?
Dealing with what?
With Wayne Williams and his character and the actor that played him and everything like that.
Oh, I thought he was great. The guy that played him was really good. His character was interesting. It was interesting to see, his interaction, because I mean, you as the audience, you're pretty sure it's the guy, and as it goes on, you're more and more sure. But it's so interesting to see the way that he interacted with, the main characters, and also just in general, like what he was doing and stuff, like his story and them trying to get him. Like he was a very well written, guy character. And I think it was interesting to see the way that he handled the situation, because he was a bit different. I mean, from the way that they're used to seeing serial killers in this show. I think he was a little bit different, and that was interesting to see his sort of mindset and the way he interacted. It was good. It was good stuff.
Well, the way he dealt with the media and played them and used them against him was paying attention. He was aware of it. Like when he drove them around, then bought food and then gave it to Tension and Ford.
Yeah.
Like all that sort of shit. Like he was playing games with them. Like he was doing lots of these serial killers. They love the media attention. They want to be involved in the investigation. They follow what's going on and stuff like that. Like there's so many behaviors that they like played upon that, but they did enough to also keep you second guessing all the way through of maybe it isn't him, even though it's like everything's pointing to it is him. It fits everything and you trust Holden, but then there's this like they never leave you with 100%. Like reading up on it, you're like, oh fucking yeah, 100% did it. But the way the show does it, they want you to feel that doubt because they want you to feel I think the most important thing about this whole thing was it's not that you're pretty positive he did it. They want to plant that little seed of doubt just purely for the fact that you need to feel unsatisfied with the fact that he was only ever convicted of 2 of the murders and 27 other murders were never officially solved, which is just kind of like, it's disheartening. And like Holden watching that news report at the end with the mayor saying, they're ceasing investigations, even though he's only convicted of 2, that they're satisfied that he's the one and all this stuff. And the mothers are just not happy. And you feel bad. And I think you can tell that Holden feels bad about this. And he really takes all this stuff on.
Yeah. Yeah. It was done very well.
But there's so many different, like, I think a big thing is like motivations for these characters, right? Because Holden wants to catch these bad guys, as do they all. But I think he puts so much stock into that his research is the way to go about it, and that's the way to do it. And while Tench has, he also has a family to worry about, and he spends so much time going between them both and trying to balance what's important. And sure, he loves getting the bad guys and stuff, but like what's most important to him still his family. But he's also a traditional guy where you got to prioritize, and put food on the table, and you got to go to work. It's just your job. You do your job. That's what you signed up for. And even though you love your family more, you put the job ahead, and that you have that conflict with his character. And then you're not sure about Wendy because she can do these interviews. She can nail it while they're away and train these people to do it. But she's treated like, no, you just stick to your research. That's what we need you to do. That's all. No, don't interview people. Leave that to Holden. He's the golden goose, So there is that little bit of conflict there for each of these characters. You're a bit torn between, and they're a bit torn between. As much as they're like satisfied and they're doing what needs to be done, there's so many consequences to it. There's so much guilt for Holden for not actually satisfying the mothers. There's so much guilt for Tench for his family and his wife. Nancy leaves him with their kid, who I forget what the fucking kid's name is. Bill or something. I don't know.
Brian?
No, Bill's fucking Brian. Yes, Bill and Brian and Nancy.
It's the one name I remembered.
Yeah, the one name you remembered. Yeah. Fuck, he's a creepy kid. Definitely going to be a serial killer. And then, of course, Wendy more minorly. But the big part of this show and what was so good to me about the first season, like the best part about the show is this. It isn't an action-heavy show, right? It's a dialogue-heavy show. Mm-hmm. And even though it's not real, you're not really watching what's really happening, somehow the dialogue is still so riveting, like it's got real-life consequences or something like that. Like, more the first season than the second. There's a lot more action and, like, investigations going on in this second season, with obviously the Atlanta child murders and overarching narratives, BTK coming more involved and learning more about that. But at the same time, it is about these interviews. It is about their research, and it is about like what more they can learn. They haven't figured it all out yet. There's still more for them to figure out, and more for them to nail down with these interviews. And they did a lot of great interviews in the show. I want to get a list up.
Okay.
Of all the serial killers. Mindhunter season 2 serial killers. Okay, here we go.
Let's have a look.
So I've done a bit of research on them after. So we'll start with Charles Manson.
Okay.
That interview was probably the best of the season. Other than, like, I think Ed Kemper's still my favorite one, like, character of the serial killers. But they've just spent so much time with him, especially in that first season. I'm glad he got to come back for a little bit in season 2. I don't think they necessarily planned to have him back, but I think he was just such a beloved actor, and he's had such a great performance. They wanted to give him like a scene in this season, and that made Charlie come out. What did you think of the Charles Manson interview? Like, what were your kind of thoughts on it, and how Holden was so kind of starstruck and Tench was just so caught up in, and Charles Manson like played him?
Yeah, it was a super interesting scene. Like, I mean, they do dialogue so well that you're so captivated, and really all that's happening is it's like a couple of people in a room talking to each other, but they do dialogue so well that it's so fucking good. There was a couple of scenes like that, but we'll talk about those a little bit later. The scene with Charles Manson was so, I mean, because everyone knows who Charles Manson is, and he's like a huge, guy.
Do you know much about Charles Manson?
Bits and pieces, but I know that he's a very, famous guy.
Right.
For all of that shit that happened. So it was, seeing him, them interviewing him in this way was so interesting to see. And the guy that played him was really good, did a great job. And it was so interesting to see the way that Ford and Tench both interacted with him, because they're both very different when it comes to that. Like you said, Ford is so, like, he's just so interested. Like, he doesn't. It's almost like he respects them in a way. Not respects them as people, but like...
he respects what they can do for his research. Like, he just gets so excited about what this means for, like,
I think so, but I feel like there's a little bit more there. Like, I feel like he almost feels like he respects how intelligent they are. Like, the way that they can manipulate people, or the way that they're able to get away with things. He almost respects that in a sense, which is why I find him so weird at times. Like, the way, like... I don't know, like, he doesn't just think they're terrible, disgusting people. Like, there's a little bit more there. I don't know. Like, I don't think he's a bad person himself, but I think there's a bit more, whereas Tench is just sort of like, these people are fucking cunts, and we should treat them like that, but they can help us out as well, because he's sort of like more of a normal person. And it's interesting to see them both talking to Charles Manson, because they both are very different in that regard. And seeing that, like, the dialogue between Manson and Tench was so fucking intense, and it was so great, such a well performed and written scene, with Charles Manson completely just sort of playing him and riling him up. It was really well done, and that also plays into the stuff with his kid as
Charles
well.
Manson of saying, like, he didn't do any, I never did anything, I never killed anyone,
it was
I never told anyone
at points.
I never told anyone to do anything, and then, like, in the end, he reads Ford and Tench so fucking well, it's creepy. Like, he plays on Tench and knows how to get to him, and then at the end, as they're leaving, he literally just grabs the book, signs it, because he knows Ford's so into him, and then he's like, can I have your sunglasses? And then tells everyone that he snuck them off him.
Yeah.
Because he's such a fucking liar and manipulator, but he nails it. Like, they just showed how good he was at it. It was insane how they did that.
Yeah, it was so well. Yeah, it was so well done. It was really, really good.
Now my other favorite, favorite scene
I'm a
from
big
a show.
fan of this serial killer. Big fan of his work.
David Berkowitz, Son of Sam. The way, like, I've known about this serial killer before, but the way they did the, like, they obviously put like prosthetics on this guy because he's a very odd looking dude.
Yeah.
If you want to, I'll send you the link to this on Facebook because my Skype's still fucked.
Okay.
But just what I'm reading off, because I've just got like some article just so you can see the pictures and remember who each one was. But Son of Sam is the one that said that there was a demon.
Yeah.
Like telling him to do these things, because he killed 6 people, injured 7 between 1976 and 1977. He's 66 years old, serving out his 6 consecutive sentences. So he's still in prison, 6 consecutive life sentences. Yeah, so he made Son of Sam. Yeah, he was the one that made up the demon story, and he kept talking about it. Like when they were interviewing him, he kept going on and on and on about, no, it's a demon, blah blah blah, and then they finally get him to turn. It's like, and Holden gets to him.
Yeah, that was fucking so good.
But the way he comes out, he doesn't come in and be like, all right, you got me, or damn, or like trip up, and he's like, oh, you tricked me. He literally goes, like he smiles, like he loves that. He's like, yeah, I did get him though. Like, because Holden plays into the fact he's like, well, you got all these people. Like, how'd you get him to believe it? Like, and all this sort of stuff.
Holden's so fucking good at that. I love seeing Holden interview people because he's so fucking good at like knowing these different people and like interacting with them and getting them to talk to him. It's so fucking interesting. I love it.
Yeah, oh, dude, and that's why, like, as much as I loved Wendy and wanted to see her like do these interviews, she was good too. She was like, she's the next best thing after Holden. But the way Holden gets in there, you need Tench there to kind of be that one support and counteract him and kind of keep him balanced as well, keep him grounded, because he does sometimes go off a bit. But the way he did Son of Sam it actually might have been my favorite Holden performance.
He was very good
in an interview, because though Charles Manson was my favorite one, like Holden didn't do a lot. He kind of just sat there in awe of Manson. Whereas the Son of Sam one was like he literally broke down this serial killer and like got him to open up in the first interview, but like break a huge lie that is a huge part of like his case, like real life case and stuff. So it was just one of those interesting things that I really loved about Holden's performance. In this season. But that was a good one. Dennis Rader beat BTK. We talked a bit about that. But what did you think of these cold opens? What are you sort of sitting on with BTK? I know a lot about it, but I don't know you know as much other than what I've told you. Like, what do you think of the development of this overarching narrative with Dennis Rader?
It was interesting in season 1 and it was interesting in season 2. I'm looking forward to seeing where they take it. I think that, like you said, I think they were better in season 2. But there was more to it. Like, they're developing it further. Like, it was a bit vague in season 1, and then in season 2 they're pushing it a bit further.
And you realize who it is. Like, if you hadn't figured it out, like, because they introduced BTK and didn't tell you that's who BTK is. Yeah. But I already knew going into. I knew from season 1 who BTK
so did I, because you told me.
Told you, but at the same time, like, they reveal it with the printer situation. Where he's like, no, that's my property. I'm not leaving here without the copy of this like note or whatever. And then it's the BTK symbol. So if like you didn't know, you fucking there it is. Like that's who BTK is. That's who we've been watching the last 2 seasons, and you get that little bit of a link. But yeah, like what'd you think of with the cold opens? What was points that stood out to you? What were some ones that you were like, oh wow?
I mean that first one was straight into it. The very first one you see. Where it's like, okay, yeah, this guy's fucking weird, because there was nothing.
And it's just a way of also reminding you, like they're like, guys, this is our story. It's about this. Like this is the one. We're not. You know, it wasn't for nothing that first season of Cold Open.
And there was nothing super weird in season 1 from my memory. I don't think there was anything that was like really, really strange. Whereas you go straight into season 2 and it's like, yeah, okay, this is they've stepped this up. This is fucking weird. Who the fuck's this guy and what is going on? And that was interesting, and then seeing that develop, bits and pieces here and there over the course of the season, and then them actually talking about him as well in different episodes. It was good, yeah. I really liked it, and hopefully, this develops into something really interesting moving forwards.
Well, the fact that and again, spoilers. Hold your ears for 10 seconds. Dennis Rader isn't caught till 2005.
Spoilers on a spoiler cast. We're spoiling the next seasons of Mindhunter.
But it's also like. But it's like the ending of the show will probably, if it's 5 seasons, like that's when it'll probably end, right? Like catching BTK.
Yeah. Do you think they'll do like a big time jump or something?
Well, I just assume it's them. Maybe, or maybe like in the last season it'll be about that, but they don't catch him. Because the thing is, BTK stops killing for like 14 years.
Yeah.
From 1991 to 2005, he doesn't kill anyone.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
And then he just gets caught because the media brings him out again. He starts sending letters again.
Do you think they'll end before that, like with him not being caught, or do you think they'll end when he was caught?
I think you have to end when he's caught, right?
Yeah, so they'd have to do a time jump then, or do you think they would just somehow?
Like, I've done a lot of research on BTK, and I still can never understand it. I don't think I've ever heard him talk about why he stopped killing. I just don't like what it was. I don't know.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see where they take this and how they deal with it in the show, with our characters and everything. I look forward to it.
So do I. But there's plenty of seasons to go before then. Plenty of stories. Hopefully, it doesn't take 2 years to get the next season out.
Hopefully,
you don't want 5 seasons to take 10 years to see. I mean,
that's fucking crazy. Could you imagine that?
Yeah, I can. That's the problem.
In 2027, that's when it finishes.
Yeah.
That'd be mad.
Well, it'd be like 2025, really, wouldn't it? Because season 1, there's only 8 years between. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't wait 2 years and then season 1 came out. It was just season 1.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it did be 8 years. Yeah, so 2025. Yeah.
But that's still annoying. Like, still.
I was waiting for 2 years. In 2015, I was like, oh man, I can't wait for Mindhunter.
Mindhunter, yeah. What a great show that is. Can't wait to see the first season.
I was so hyped. Yeah.
But yeah. Ed Kemper's one. We don't need to talk about him. That's more season 1. Though I love seeing him back. So Elmer Wayne Henley Jr.
Yep.
So he was the 17-year-old arrested for his involvement in the Houston mass murders, a series of killings led by Candyman or Dean Corll. Dean Corll. Between 1972 and 1973. So Dean Corll, that's the guy I was talking about. He's the one, the Candyman killer.
Oh, this was because earlier I was talking about how Tench, like the stuff that happened with his son, influences the way he talks about things. He talks about this guy, Elmer, because he's like, he was a kid at the time. He tries because everyone's trying to say like, he obviously had to have something to do with it and was in a way was into it as well. Like he knew what he was doing, even though it was this other guy. What was his fucking name? Dean Corll.
Exactly.
He was the one, sort of telling him what to do, but Elmer had to have some involvement to, want to do it. And this is where Tench he's like thinking about his son, and he's like, but he was just a kid. Like he was manipulated by this older guy, like, giving him some sort of, there's some sympathy there. Because he's trying not to, in his head, I guess, think that, my son could be the same and he's just fucked up. Like, he wants it to be like, because it was the older kids as well. And you sort of see that translate over, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I mean, this kid, Elmer is definitely fucked up and he killed people and stuff. But ultimately, when you think about it, when he was caught, he killed Dean. And Dean's the one, again, like, I think has, I believe, the most killings of any serial killer in the United States ever. So
how many? What's the
kind of? I think it's like 30 something.
Oh, that's not that many. I thought it'd be like way more.
What the fuck? That's a lot of fucking killing.
Ted
Bundy, I think, like second. Ted Bundy, I think, second. At least 28 teenage boys and young men. Yeah, 28.
Okay, so it's the most that that he's actually been convicted of, right? Because that other guy who was the main
guy
right. in the season,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Did correct. The same, but okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's a few. That's a few people that you've killed. Not you. This guy.
Oh yeah, Dean Corll. Look at this guy. Like he looks fucked.
The Wikipedia picture's pretty shit.
But he got killed, and that's good. So I'm glad.
He did get killed, and that is good.
I'm glad that kid killed him. And the guy that played him, I just realized, it says in the article, was the guy that played young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones.
Oh, shit, of course it is.
Yeah, looks like him too. As soon as I see that, I'm like, oh, shit, it is too.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I knew I recognized him.
Yeah. Paul Bateson was another one they interviewed. That's one Wendy interviewed, the gay guy.
Oh, yes. Yes. That was interesting-ish. Like, it was fine. It was more of a sort of character moment for Wendy, I guess, of her being like, oh.
And there was only a murder of one guy, but I think there was suspects.
Mm-hmm.
He also was like, because he the real guy was in the movie The Exorcist. Like, he made an appearance because he was like a medical student, and like they got medical students for this medical scene in the Exorcist movie, and he was in it.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that just so happened that he was in there, but then it went on to become a murderer. But yeah, I think they had a lot of suspicions, like that he could have been involved in, but I think he was convicted of one. He's out now, I believe. He was released from prison in 2003 and is 78 years old today. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So that's, yeah, pretty fucking creepy. Then you have Tex Watson, who's the guy that actually did the Sharon Tate murders. You know, throwback to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And they interviewed. It was cool that they interviewed Tex as well, because obviously he led the actual murders. He's the one that did the actual fucking killing.
Yeah.
For Charles Manson. But yeah, that was an interesting one, and he just seemed like a normal dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that was,
you know what I mean? Like, he didn't seem like a serial killer. He's just like a dude filled with regret and remorse, and, you know, knew he'd done wrong and all this sort of stuff. So that was an interesting one. And what of all the serial killer interviews, what were your standout ones of all these? Like, there's only one more, I think, obviously, that you have Wayne Williams, the Atlanta child murderer, and then William Pierce Jr., like the guy that loved candy. They kept giving the chocolate to and shit to get him to talk.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Yeah.
And he's just like dumb as shit.
Yeah. I mean, they were all good. They were all very good.
There's a lot of serial killers in this season. They interviewed. I liked it.
Yeah, they did.
I think I liked it a little more than season 1 in terms of like the choices and the acting and stuff. But I think season 1 you got a lot more time with the interviews, and I liked that a lot.
Yeah, they had more of the focus.
Yeah, exactly. But this season there's a lot more out and about doing stuff. So I guess you obviously can't be, you know, just doing all these interviews the whole time and doing that. So, but yeah, like, I missed the focus being the interviews, but at the same time I loved seeing what season 1 was building to being actually used. Yeah. Which is good, you know. But yeah, what was one of your standouts other than Charles Manson?
I'm trying to think. Out of all these, probably the Son of Sam one was good, with because just because of Holden's performance and everything, and that whole conversation was really fucking good. That's probably got to be my top up there with Charles Manson. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. That was a great interview. So I guess all that's left to talk about with Mindhunter season 2 is, you know, where do you see these characters going? Bill, you know, his family's left him. Holden's dealing with that guilt, and Wendy's dealing with that tension with, you know, what she wants to do in her involvement with the FBI, and what her role's going to be, and what she knows she can do and what she's being allowed to do. How do you see that going with season 3? Because obviously, I'm sure there'll be more interviews and more cases. Like, I think, and BTK storyline will continue. Like, what do you sort of think will happen next season with these characters?
I think it's pretty clear where we're going to go with, like, Bill's character, because, you know, you've had all this stuff with his family life, and that'll probably play into the next season, you know, whatever's going on with his wife and his son. I'm sure they'll do something with that. I'm interested to see what they do with Holden, purely because I don't know where they're going to take him. Like, I mean, what's the next step for his character? Because there was a lot of personal stuff in season 1, and then in season 2 it was a lot of him trying to apply, you know, what they'd learned in the field and being very confident in that. Like, where are they going to take that next?
Do you think he becomes a bit less emotionally invested in it and becomes a bit colder to it? Like, he just, like, more sure, because he keeps getting it right? Like, and he keeps getting more and more sure of himself. Like, where does that go?
Possibly.
Where does that bite him, and how does that change the way he then interacts and sympathizes with people? Like, if they don't get what he's saying, he's just like, look, I don't care, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, how far does he go with it? Does he go deeper down it, or does he learn the Tench way of, like, balancing it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe ultimately he could learn that. But I think, yeah, maybe he does go down that route of being very sort of black and white about it, thinking more with logic than anything else, sort of losing a bit of empathy there, which he already I mean, he's empathetic, but I think it's more after he thinks about it, he's empathetic. It's not his first instinct to be empathetic. It's
not at all. He's like a bit on the spectrum with that stuff.
Yeah.
He is. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he's a bit on the spectrum.
Holden Ford's autistic. It's alright. Don't worry about it.
A little bit, for sure. A little bit. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably somewhere they could go with it. Seeing him sort of learning to maybe be a bit more balanced with it. Because where else are you going to go with his character? Because they've had his, his personal stuff, and they haven't developed anything more personal with him in season 2. And it's been mostly about their job and what they're doing. So I guess you got to take that a bit further. But I guess you could do something else personal. But I mean, what's the point in developing it? Like, because you've already got, like, in season 1 he already had his girlfriend, and like that was a personal thing because you get to see into his life. With Bill,
but
it's
like in the beginning. Like, I wonder can he have relationships when he's this deep into the investigations?
Maybe that'd be interesting to see. Yeah, maybe that'd be interesting to see how he forms. Because does he even have friends? Does he know anybody?
No, not really.
Does he have parents? Like, the fuck?
Yeah, right. I wouldn't mind seeing his relationship because he's from Brooklyn. I remember the first season they always laughed that, like, you're not a New York type guy. Like, you don't seem like a guy from New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. They're like, no, you weren't.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see more from his personal life, I think, to be honest. Because there was a nice bit of that in season 1, but I'd like to see him more as a person. Because whenever you see him interacting with people, like, he has no, like you see, like, his conversational skills are really fucking poor when he's at that party and Bill's making everybody laugh and telling great stories, and he's just coming along and he's just, talking about their research very matter of fact, and everyone's like, I don't care.
Like, because Bill's great in those social events, like social circles and talking about work and telling stories and stuff like that. Like, it's even like with the barbecue at his house in this season, or in season 1 when they caught one of the rapists and all the police are like cheering them for helping, and Bill comes up and gives a speech, and then Holden comes and he's like, guys, our research is blah, 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 and this, and then he's just got to kills the vibe.
Oh, classic Holden. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because like I was saying, Bill's got his family and everything and all that's, we've already got that established. So it'd be nice, I guess, to see more from Holden in that regard, to see how he deals with that. Maybe doing all these interviews and stuff does affect that. But I would like to see, I don't know, because it's weird because he just sort of has people that he works with, and then like he seems to have no family or friends at all. Like, I don't know, maybe his parents are dead. I don't fucking know. But it'd be interesting to see some of that. I don't know. We don't need to, but I kind of would like to see Holden and see if he's actually a human being or not. Because he doesn't really appear like one. But I want to see more from him. I want to see more of his more personal stuff, more how it's affecting him emotionally. I think that'd be interesting because I think we know where, like, Bill's story is going to go, because it'll be how he's coping with what's happened with his family, and then I'm sure they've got to take that further. I don't know what he's going to do, whether he's going to try and like find his wife or try and get back in contact and try and sort it out. I
don't know if that's the point of the show. Like, I don't know if that really is what will happen. You know what I mean?
Like,
will he just dive into work? Will he try and like how much is that? Is it really more of all this stuff is a consequence of his work, right?
Possibly, but then what are they going to do with, like, what are they going to do with his son? Like, is that just now is that story over now?
Well, his son's fucked. We know that.
Like, do you think anything else is going to happen, or do you think it's just going to be like, oh, his wife and son have left? Maybe his son kills people, maybe he doesn't. Weird for
a guy that discovered, one of the discoverers of, like, the term serial killer's son happens to be a serial killer. I just find it too bit convenient. You know what I mean?
You just think it's like, it sort of fucks up Bill because he's thinking about the potential, but it doesn't actually ever happen. Like,
right. Yeah, I think so.
Rather than it being like, yeah, sure, that's a point. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting whichever way they decide to do it. And then what happened with, I forget what happened with Wendy and the girl she was with. What happened to them by the end?
They're not
together.
Because she has a kid and all this shit, and they kind of just broke up. It was weird. That whole thing was weird. Yeah, that whole stuff was, I don't know. It was all a bit odd, It was all a bit odd.
I'm not sure what the point of it was. I guess it was partially to develop her character, show some personal stuff, but also then that plays into the interview where she uses that to interview the guy who killed the guy. What's his name? Shit. Fucking
Yeah,
Elmer.
no.
Elmer.
Elmer that killed Dean Coral. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I guess that's what it was for. I don't really know. I mean, it wasn't uninteresting, but it was like, I mean, her relationship stuff was probably the least interesting because I mean that's not really the point of the show. So it's just sort of like, yeah, cool, I guess. I don't know what they're gonna do with her. Maybe they should do something with Greg. Come on, let's have Greg have a story.
Oh god, Greg's such a fucking pussy.
Let's have him have a story.
Greg's such a fucking bitch.
I always forget he's there. But he is there. Greg. He's on the team.
Little rat.
But, I mean, that'll all be interesting to see how it all plays out moving forward, and what other cases we get and stuff. But yeah.
And I think we're going to focus more and more each season on BTK. Like, they've introduced him, they've spent little bits on him, but I think they're really going to get into it next season. I think he'll actually be quite a major focus.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that scene as well, just remembering now, the scene in the car where they interview that guy that got away, and it's like, it's a really long section where Bill gets him to describe what happened, and he's just sort of sitting in the back of the car.
Wait, which thing?
It was like episode 2 or 3 or something. They go in secret to meet with this guy who...
Oh, about BTK. One of the survivors of BTK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, right.
That was
and he
a
got
really
shot
good
in the
fucking
face.
scene.
Yeah, he got shot in the face. Yeah. And his sister got killed. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good fucking scene.
That
it went on for a
really
while, but it was so tense. Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was tense.
It was very good, yeah.
Shit,
and because they're not even looking at each other. They're just sort of like, it's done really, really well. And his description of the whole thing, like, it was so easy to visualize it. It was really, really well done. That's one of my favorite scenes actually, probably from the season. It was really good.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's so many good scenes. So, like, this show's so ridiculously good, man. So good.
It is, yeah.
I believe, my opinion is it's the best show Netflix has ever produced. Better than Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. Yeah, well, of course it's better than Stranger Things.
I mean, it takes place in Hawkins, obviously, the show. But
yeah.
Park City Hawkins. At the start.
Fuck's sake. They'll interview Joyce on the next one. That'll be fun.
Oh, well, I mean, she was the dude that was in the back seat of the car they were talking to. You didn't see it?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Someone needs to figure out what the fuck's going on in Hawkins, like all these kids going missing and shit. Holden Ford needs to get on that.
They should do a crossover with, like, all of the Netflix shows and have it be set in Hawkins. It'd be incredible.
Well, they're set in the same sort of time period, I'm pretty sure. 80s, right?
Yeah. 70s and 80s.
And I mean, they're obviously set in the same city.
Yeah, of course.
You know, Hawkins, Maine.
Yeah,
exactly. That's where it was.
Exactly.
That's where we are right now.
This is the stupidest running joke.
It's not a running joke. I'm being fucking serious.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I apologize. That was insensitive.
That's really mean.
Yeah.
No, I was being serious. But anyway, it's the best show Netflix has ever produced, in my opinion.
I think so too. I can't think of anything that tops it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like, there's some great shows on Netflix, don't get me wrong. The Crown's fantastic. I love that show. I do love Stranger Things, but, you know, Mindhunter is the most riveting, well-written show I've seen in many, many years, and hopefully by its end it'll be one of the best shows maybe I've ever seen. Who's to say?
Yeah,
it's all
really
possible.
Good. It's definitely a contender. It's probably in my top 5, I'd say.
Of all time already?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, that's big,
what would be in there? I don't know, what would be in my top 5?
Sons of Anarchy is, you know, my number 1. Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Black Sails, The Borgias, Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, Breaking Bad. Yeah, that's true. Maybe it wouldn't be my top 5. I don't know. That was a bold claim on the spot. I don't know. It's not backed up by anything.
I love How I Met Your Mother as well. That's, you know, one of my all-time favorite shows.
Yeah. Okay.
What else we got? I've got, you know, I don't know, man. Boardwalk Empire is fantastic. Homeland. Holy shit, Homeland. Yeah. There's a lot of good shows out there, man. And there's only 2 seasons of this.
Sure.
But yeah, it's definitely up there. It's probably top 10.
It might be my top 5. I don't know. If it's in my top 5, it might be number 5. I don't know.
Sure. Well, it's in my top 10, I'd say. It's sitting in the low top 10s right now. We're 2 seasons in, you know.
Okay.
But it's definitely on the way, if it keeps going this way, to being, you know, a top 5 show of all time for me, for sure. For sure. Fantastic show. If for some reason you're at this point of the podcast and you haven't seen the show, fucking go watch it, but I'm sure you have. So there it is. Anyway, let's wrap this podcast up another Cinema Room episode. What are we doing next? What next episode? What are we doing?
Oh, I don't know.
Because the next episode will be in September. When's the Joker come out?
4th of October.
Do the reviews for Joker fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's really got my expectations a little bit higher because I was honestly.
Well, you've had low, and
I was not excited for this at all.
You know what? It's been pissing me off that you've said that. It's been pissing me off. This movie looks fucking amazing.
I just
Every
have had no
been
faith
amazing.
in DC and fucking Warner Bros or whatever.
I have full faith in this movie.
They just make such shit films that I'm like.
I'm not thinking about DC. This isn't like it's not even like a DC movie trying to do DC shit. This is just
a DC
like
movie though, isn't it?
It's a DC property.
Yeah.
It's a DC property that Todd Phillips is making a movie for.
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought that it would be better than what we've got previously, but I'm also then like, I don't want to be disappointed because they fucked it up or got it wrong or, you know. It's
and
just
Todd Phillips
mess.
is such an interesting, weird director as well. Like he's a comedy director.
Yeah.
Like The Hangover, Old School and shit. But he worked a lot with Bradley Cooper. I'm having a look at Due Date, Road Trip. Like just some of the best comedies of the past 15 years. He's been the director and producer of. And then he's making Joker. Like I like that you've got this comedy writer making this dark movie about a failing comedian becoming a villain.
Yeah.
Like the Joker.
I'm interested. I honestly am really looking forward to it. More so than I was before. I was not looking forward to it at all, to be honest. But
oh really? Oh dude, this is my most anticipated movie of the year behind Star Wars. Like left, right? Like if my top 3 movies of this year that I was anticipating, it was Joker, Avengers Endgame, Star Wars.
Yeah.
In no particular, obviously Endgame number 1, not even, and nothing's even close. But like I was more excited about this than fucking like Spider-Man or Captain Marvel or something like that. I
was, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess I just didn't really think about it.
Anymore. That's dead. I don't know what Spider-Man is anymore.
No, it doesn't exist.
Matter. It doesn't exist.
I mean, I'm looking forward to Joker now. I am. After seeing the reviews.
I'll tell you where Spider-Man is, in the Upside Down. That's what he is.
Of course he is.
Where else would he be?
God damn it, Spider-Man. Get out of there.
Annoying. Anyway, what's next between now and the Joker coming out? You want to do Hook next? You want to do fucking Hook next?
Yeah. We'll have one more, right, between now and the Joker, so let's make it Hook.
Alright.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, fuck's sake.
Finally, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Okay, man, we get it. You're excited.
I love Hook.
Yeah, I know you do.
It holds up.
I love how you're more excited than I am about the movie that you hated and I loved.
I don't even hate it. It's so bad. It's really good.
Like, but this is the thing here. Like, I loved it so much as a kid, and my memories of it are still like this great movie. And I just know I'm gonna hate it now, and I just don't want to ruin it because I just know I haven't seen it in like 15 years. I'm gonna watch and hate it, and it's gonna be ruined for me.
It's such a strange film.
And I'm pissed off about it. I'm pissed off that I'm gonna hate the movie.
I can't wait.
Oh god damn it! All right.
Hook. Did they do a sequel to Hook?
Just wrap this fucking podcast up, dude. Don't ask any more fucking questions.
They didn't. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Room Podcast. If you're listening,
perfect as it was, they didn't want to tarnish it, you know.
Yeah. Well, if it was a US TV series, there'd be 600 episodes of it. So. I'm glad that it wasn't that. Thanks everybody so much for listening to this episode of the Cinema Room. If you're listening on Patreon,
2 episodes of The Office that you haven't seen.
I will, and they'll be perfect.
That Steve Carell made.
Yeah, no.
And that was involved what?
No. Fuck Steve Carell.
You don't even
Fuck
have Dwight.
off.
You don't even have Dwight.
No, because we have Gareth, so it's a million times better.
Fuck off, Gareth.
Yeah.
Fucking the guy. Yo, you mean the guy in Pirates
American
of the Caribbean?
Office.
Get the fuck out of here.
Shit, was he in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, well, just the guy with the fucking glass eye. You fucking Nimrod.
He was in Game of Thrones too, wasn't he?
Fucking idiot.
Anyway, thanks for listening to this episode of Cinema Room. If you're listening on Patreon, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Kim Richard III, Smexy Dork, Elsco91, Seth, and Josh DeVellier. If you're listening on anywhere else, being YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, then consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/as always. It's just $1 or more, depending on what you want to give, and it really helps us out. This podcast exists because of everyone on Patreon. It wouldn't exist without it, and it's amazing. And You should join. It's really great. You get exclusive access to the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast and early access by a week to this podcast, The Cinema Room. So if that sounds good to you and you want to help support us, go ahead and do that. And thank you to everybody pledging $5 or more. We have got King Richard III, Smexy Dork, Elstico91, Seth, Josh DeVilliers, Ballsack47, Damian, Billy the Team Tynamite, Captain Robertson, Tman Travis, SuperTuberEddie, Baby Boy, KEMOSABE Gamer, Kacper, Casey Wood, Pink Flame 3 and 3, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Jamie Brown, Jesper Olsen, Lumistrad, DIDDLOTIC, okay, Mary for 380, Enjoys Rimjobs, Fuck Cuck, Brendon Overlord, RAVJAI, Ikraik, Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, Jim Lee, James and Lad, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Zahir the FAT Gamer, Max H, Gene, Zeek Collins, Son of a Bitch Ogeaidogo, George, Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, Frankie Gaffney, the ACMJS, Travanosky, McZed, Kassassin, Kyle, S. Jaws, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, Ginko Swag, Mash the Bass, Tyler Watch, Daredevil, Ashton, Amir, the Synth Potato.
People asking, it's like there's still topics getting posted in Clubhouse to like watch Daredevil and Punisher. I promise you, you have no idea how stubborn I am.
You fucked it up because everyone keeps asking. He's not gonna do it.
You have no idea how stubborn I am.
It's so fucking annoying.
I already was never going to watch it. And now that you will want me to, I will never watch any of those Marvel Netflix shows. Literally never. I will never watch them.
That's so sad because
it will never.
So
they're
good.
not, and they're not, and they're all cancelled, and they're not. So what's gonna happen is never. So just so you're all aware, what's gonna happen is James, never. That's what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Oh well.
Just so you're fucking aware of
I'll do a cinema room on my own.
The more you ask, the more it's never gonna happen.
Oh, it's such a shame. Mission failed, boys.
Sorry for interrupting the list.
We'll get him next time. Where was I on the list? Amir, the Synth Potato. Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith. Joe, A.K.A FoundedScarab. H+12, I got Big Shoes. Iron Man's for the Dads. Day, Alfie Robert, Brian Ford, Milk Boy, Fishy, and Andrew Martinez. Thank you all so much for continued support. You're all bloody epic. And we'll see you all next time for the next episode of Cinema Room on Hook. And we'll see you for bloody this Sunday. We've got a million things. I mean, if you're listening on Patreon, we've got Kill Connor Club this Sunday. And
do we want to put this? So we'll put this out straight away, obviously, on Patreon. Yep. Do you want to put this out Saturday publicly just because we're doing Kill Connor Club on Sunday as well?
Yes. Yeah, all right. Yeah, can do.
Or Monday. It's up to you. Because you're doing Horsey and Fox Saturday, I assume.
Yeah.
So maybe do it Monday?
Sure. All right, we'll do it Monday.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right,
that's it.
Amazing. We'll see you guys Sunday for Clubhouse and Kill Connor Club, both coming out Sunday. So that's exciting.
That is epic.
Double dose of the club. Indie club.
Amazing. All right. Thanks for watching. See you later, boys.
See ya. Bye.
Goodbye.